This video was produced based on an article by Lingshan Hermit. All rights reserved. Any infringement will be prosecuted. Game of Thrones. Season 8. Episode 4. The opening shot rises from below. As the camera lifts, we see the body of Jorah Mormont, the great bear laid out upon a pyre in full armor, awaiting the flames. We see his pale face, eyes closed, his wounds no longer bleeding, his armor stained dark crimson in places where the blood had soaked through. Then we see the grieving Daenerys Targaryen, kissing Jorah's forehead in farewell. The camera draws slowly upward, and we see more of those who had fallen in the war against the Night King. Theon, Lyanna Mormont, Ed, Dolorous Ed and Beric Dondarrion, the Lord of Light. Their bodies, too, are laid upon their pyres, waiting to be set alight. On this cold morning, the war between humanity and the White Walkers has only just ended, and every face in Winterfell bears its wounds. After the funeral rites comes the feast. They begin to drink heavily. Everyone is drinking. Everyone is making merry. Everyone seems happy. They have just defeated humanity's greatest enemy. The catastrophe seems to have passed. All has returned to normal. They have, of course, every reason to celebrate. But we know that the catastrophe has, in truth, only just begun. Humanity may have defeated the Night King and his army, but it cannot defeat its own selfishness, its own stupidity, its own mistrust, and its own swollen desires. After the feast, Daenerys Targaryen seeks out Jon Snow. She hopes that the man she loves will keep the secret of his true parentage, for her sake, and for theirs, because she knows that to reveal that secret will bring endless trouble, perhaps even tear everything apart. But Jon Snow is a guileless man. He believes he ought to tell Sansa and Arya, because they are his family. He believes they and she can coexist in peace. Why not? She is the woman he loves, and they are his family. He believes he can make them get along. He thinks the best of everyone. Jon is a simple man, and in a certain sense, I too am a man like Jon, and I have paid a heavy price for it. Many are saying that the greatest American television series of all time has been ruined by a botched ending. I take a different view. I think this series displays the writer's profound insight into human nature, and that the changes in each character during Season 8 conform to true human nature with remarkable fidelity. By conforming to human nature, I mean, according to Buddhist teaching, that when people believe the self to be truly existent, they will quite naturally undertake all manner of actions to protect that self and to assert that self. The changes the characters undergo do not, in my view, appear abrupt at all. They accord faithfully with how the self operates. Those who think the show was ruined seem to wish that the writers had told the story their way, which betrays a poor understanding of how complex human nature really is. So what is the way they wish the story had gone? Do you wish to have seen Daenerys Targaryen and Sansa Stark shake hands in peace? To have seen Sansa, moved by all that Daenerys had given, set aside her grievances at last? To have seen Arya dispense justice? To have seen Cersei severely punished? None of these things happened. What you saw instead was Sansa saying, "It was Arya who killed the Night King," as though the Dragon Queen had contributed nothing to that battle. What you saw was Arya saying, Daenerys is not one of us. We do not trust her." What you saw was Missandei beheaded by the mountain before Daenerys' very eyes. This is real life. Even when you have done a great deal, even when you have sacrificed a great deal, others can interpret matters as though none of it had happened at all. Every person sees only their own projection. Every person interprets events to suit their own wishes. From Sansa's point of view, her thinking is hardly strange. When Daenerys Targaryen marched her army into Winterfell, when her two great dragons swept howling over Sansa's head, I still remember the look on Sansa's face as she stood upon the battlements of Winterfell watching that army enter. That look was certainly not the look of someone thinking, "Jon has at last brought help." In it there was envy, there was longing, there was unwillingness, and there was a hatred held silently in check. From the perspective of the Lady of Winterfell, The arrival of the Dragon Queen was by no means a thing to celebrate. In her eyes, the threat Daenerys posed to her was far greater than that of the Night King. Daenerys' arrival had dimmed her own light. Daenerys possessed everything Sansa longed to possess: dragons, an army, the legitimate title, and love. She seemed to have given nothing of herself, never to have endured what Sansa had endured, and yet she had obtained all the glory and brilliance. This made Sansa hate her all the more, and Daenerys gave her commands, though from Daenerys' own point of view, she had been quite courteous. But Sansa would never see it that way. How can you expect such women to live together in peace? Jon Snow did not keep the secret as Daenerys had asked. In the Godswood, he told Sansa and Arya the secret of his birth. He trusted their oaths to keep it. The stupidity of this act is nearly enough to outweigh another foolish thing he had once done: the venture beyond the wall to capture a white, so that he might bring it to King's Landing and show it to Cersei, to make her believe that the army of the dead existed, so that she might make what he considered the right choice. For this he sacrificed one of Daenerys' dragons, and he allowed the Night King to breach the wall. He must have thought that, however wicked Cersei might be, she would surely make the right choice when faced with a problem touching the survival of humanity itself. He did not know that some people can ignore such things entirely, can even turn them to their own advantage. Cersei gave him a most instructive lesson. That you are an unselfish person does not mean others are. That you have no desire for the Iron Throne does not mean others have none. Most people never consider the interests of humanity as a whole. They will not even consider the interests of their own group, not even on the day the world ends. This is a reality we must understand. Jon is a kind and simple man, and kind, simple people often make this kind of foolish mistake. This mistake will, in the end, be the death of Daenerys. Born into this world, I never think the worst of others, and Jon Snow is probably much the same. But this does not mean that there are no wicked people in this world. In the earlier seasons, we likely all thought that the Night King and his army were the most fearsome enemy humanity would ever face, and that the war between the Night King and humanity would be the final battle. But upon entering Season 8, we discover that the enemy beyond the wall is not really so frightening after all. Those hideous whites, they can only bite and slash and hack. They cannot deceive. They cannot scheme. They merely fight, and therefore they are not what is to be feared. What is truly to be feared are those whom you believed to be safe, those who sit beside you. After the Night King and his army vanish, it is the mistrust among human beings, their insecurity, their swollen desires, their stupidity and selfishness, that turn out to be humanity's greatest enemy, and humanity's eternal enemy. What sets us slaughtering one another, what makes strangers of us all, is not the Night King, it is these. The world will not run as we wish it to run, nor will the world run as Jon Snow wishes. Daenerys and Sansa can never live together in peace. After the Night King is destroyed, Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow do not live happily together. What they must face is the mistrust between human beings, and the schemes and disasters that arise from mistrust, from insecurity, and from swollen desire. This is humanity's eternal tragedy. And so, in the end, Jon Snow remains Jon Snow. He does not become Cersei Lannister. What kind of person you are, that is the kind of person you remain in the end. Though this world contains Cersei Lannister, and Littlefinger, and Sansa Stark, though this world is full of schemes and calculations, Jon Snow is, from beginning to end, still Jon Snow. He is, from beginning to end, still that simple, upright man. He will not change himself on that account. May we all be the same.